We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. HOTspots magazine marks its 40th anniversary with a special self-care edition featuring fitness tips, mental health advice, exclusive interviews, and insights into LGBTQ plus history, and announces the HOTspots Happening Out 40th anniversary cruise.
Fair Health study reveals a 23.8% rise in STD diagnoses among adults of 65 plus age group, with syphilis, gonorrhea, and HIV/AIDS notably increasing.
Trump's choice of J.D. Vance as vice president for his 2024 campaign draws criticism from LGBTQ plus advocates and the Biden-Harris campaign.
The Republican National Convention has begun in Milwaukee, focusing on Trump's nomination and key issues such as economy, policies, and LGBTQ plus community.
Good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, to have had more than 9 million views. It is Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whenever it happens unique in the LGBTQ plus news, you can see it and hear it.
HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our queer culture, the Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students and youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS, healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus nonprofit media companies in America, HOTspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Dr. Bobby Huen. He is a certified civil and family mediator and founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. From Hong Kong and having grown up across the world, he can offer a queer global perspective on current events. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you. Hi, Max. How are you doing, darling?
I'm doing so spectacular. How are you?
Great. I just took a long trip, actually, back and forth from Central Florida, so I'm a little disheveled, so forgive my appearance today.
Well, you're slaying the day away to me. Next, let's meet Vaughn Biggs, Broward County HIV Health Services Planning Council's vice chair and disruptive advocate, challenging outdated perceptions and fighting for HIV and AIDS rights. As Holy Cross Health's community outreach coordinator, Vaughn smashes stigma through innovative campaigns and social media. Vaughn, PrideFe is the most awaited LGBTQ plus Caribbean festival of South Florida. Holy Cross is a sponsor and will be attending PrideFe this year. Tell me, what's happening?
Absolutely. This is our second year that Holy Cross has sponsored PrideFe, and we're all thinking, did we survive Pride, right? And we did.
Barely.
But there's another one, and it's amazing. It's a totally different environment. It's held at Richardson Park, and it's just a really great fun event. A lot of culture, music, food, dancing. It'll be an evening type of event. So last year, I think we were able to provide HIV self-test kits to the community, provide vaccines to community members. So it was a great opportunity to meet everyone, let them meet and learn about the services that Holy Cross has to offer in the community.
Amazing. What an amazing opportunity for folks here in South Florida. Well, next, let's welcome Danielle Earle, CEO of PL Entertainment and Writers Guild of America East member. Is a Bronx native and award-winning filmmaker known for Brooklyn is in Love and Lover's Game. Also a high school teacher in Orange, New Jersey, she was honored as the NGA Equality Champion for LGBTQ+ advocacy, and just throwing that in there, a proud board member at Prism. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited. This is great.
Awesome. Well, next, let's welcome Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 2 short story collections and 7 books of poetry. He is an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of print and online publications.
I am so glad to be here, and I'm going to try not to cuss too much tonight. And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, Maxx Fenning. At 17, he formed the nonprofit Prism to promote LGBTQ+ inclusive education and make sexual health resources accessible to youth in South Florida. He just graduated from the University of Florida. Congrats. He was also selected as South Florida's Person of the Year. Congrats, congrats. Welcome, Maxx.
Thank you. It is so happy to be here and back hosting. It's been a minute since then, and post-grad this time, which is
cool.
So exciting. All right, we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. First, this evening, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. HOTspots magazine new issue is a self-care edition. On stands July 18th. HOTspots is celebrating 40 years with the new issue on stands Thursday. The magazine is part of HOTspots Happening Out, the largest nonprofit LGBTQ+ media group in America. The upcoming issue is a special self-care edition where Scott Holland talks with Leonardo Oliveira, aka Leo Harley, for the HOTspots Hotties feature. The magazine also features a special feature named Hot Bodies by Leo Harley, where he has shared some must-know fitness and nutrition tips for people turning 40. This month in LGBT history will give you insights into the lesser-known facts about what happened this month in queer history. The issue also shares advice from massage specialists, so don't forget to check out the feature How to De-Stress on a Tight Schedule by gayfriendly.com. As part of this self-care edition, the new issue also discusses 4 tips to mind your mental health by Family Features and Ultimate Summer Skincare Guide by Fresha.com. Did you know the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau is celebrating its 17th annual Miami Spa Months? The magazine covers everything to help you with all the details. There's more! Larry Olson got in touch with Pandora Box for her new dance album named Box. She's also sent a message to DeSantis through this HOTspots interview. You have to read what she said. What's more, the Indigo Girls documentary, It's Only Life After All, is now on Netflix, and the new issue has everything you'd like to know about the band. And of course, you can read popular features like Out with Scott and What's Hot by Scott Holland, and you hear about the first announcement of the HOTspots Happening Out 40th anniversary cruise. The 4-day cruise features a special 4-day Friday to Monday weekend cruise from just $189 and includes free cruise connection transportation from 17 South Florida cities. Grab your free copy of HOTspots magazine on July 18th, or you might miss all the fun. Well, I am so excited that HOTspots is celebrating 40 years. That's like 2 of me in a row. Absolutely insane.
Wow. I take offense to that.
Yeah.
Well, I recently had the pleasure of interviewing Emily Saliers of the Indigo Girls about the documentary and the duo's career. You can read that interview if you'd like. It's in Lavender Magazine. It's in Out South Florida. It's in Grab Magazine, among others. So I love the Indigos. I always have.
Well, I want to just give a shout out, since this whole issue is about the magazine turning 40 and self-care turning 40. Our fellow panelist, Alex Morash, is celebrating his 40th birthday tomorrow. We're taking a trip to Miami. Aww. And so therefore, happy birthday, Alex. I wish you'll be embarrassed by this. Thank you.
Happy birthday. All right, next, let's queer up queer health. New study shows baby boomers are diagnosed with STDs at greater numbers. Why? A recent study by Fire Health has uncovered a startling trend in sexually transmitted disease diagnoses among older adults, with a 4.8% increase observed from 2020 to 2023. Highlighting the data is a significant rise of 23.8% in STD diagnosis among patients aged 65 and older, marking the largest surge across all age groups. Factors behind this vast differences include changing sexual norms, lack of awareness, and less frequent use of protective measures compared to younger generations. The findings are based on analysis of over 47 billion commercial healthcare claim records. The statistic also indicates notable increases among patients aged 55 to 64, up by 16.2%. The fastest growing STD diagnoses include syphilis, which surged by 29.4%, gonorrhea by 16.8%, and HIV and AIDS by 14.1% over the study period. Moreover, patients aged 65 and older saw a remarkably 32.2% increase in HPV diagnoses. A particular concern is the disparity in diagnosis rates between genders. Male patients experienced a significant 59.2% rise in gonorrhea cases, whereas female diagnoses declined by 19.3%. One of the reasons behind this difference is said to be anatomical. Typically, anatomical variations in the urethra between males and females contribute to a lower prevalence of gonorrhea among women, as the female urethra is shorter than in males. Health advocates for the LGBTQ+ community also suggest it is a sign that STDs are more significantly affected the queer community. Fair Health President Robin Gelberg emphasized the organization's commitment to public health research, aiming to shed light on critical health issues. Well, first, we talked about this subject a lot. We've had a couple of discussions of the 65+ community, STDs in the community, and that rise in that. But I think it's still important to talk. We have to be empowered and empower our friends, our cohorts to talk sexual health to their providers. We've got to be able to talk to them. They've got to be able to address their, not to go in as a shame. It's like, do whatever, there's no shame in your game. Come on, let's just go and have that conversation. Let's talk about prevention. Let's talk about what we can do with Doxypep out on the market, things like that we can do to address these increases. I think it's interesting that they always talk about the LGBTQ community. When it comes to an STD, it comes to a new diagnosis, like when we had Mpox, that it's the gays. They're the ones that's spreading this. But it's, when you look at sexual history, you don't typically see males on either the heterosexual side or the gay side having extreme cases of more sexual encounters over their lifetime. So I think it's interesting to say there's some challenges there, but we as an LGBTQ community are more open to be out in public.
I mean, as advocates, we know that there's a sort of like a generational divide. Boomers boomers lectured LGBTQ people and younger generation about, how promiscuous we are, but we don't talk about sexual behavior among boomers, especially older boomers. And they tend to be, I'm not going to cast aspersions, but, they tend to be generally not aware or don't care. Or they think that's, as that generation thought, STDs are only for promiscuous LGBTQ+ people. They are white heterosexual Christians living in the villages. Of course, they don't need it. On the other hand, maybe we should just spray disinfectant, across the villages in that little plane.
Lysol. Yeah, and it's interesting too because when you think about the boomers, they were the free love generation. They were the summer of love in '67 and all that shit. And look what you did. Look what you're doing to yourselves. It's just, you're like all walking STDs. And I'm so glad that I recently learned that I'm a member of Generation Jones and not, in fact, a disgusting baby boomer. It made me really happy. It was a relief on many levels, especially when it comes to STDs.
Well, I had a friend that recently just had an event up in Pompano, and she, at the event, was predominantly black women, and in their 60s and 70s and 80s. And they were shocked. They didn't think AIDS was around anymore. They really were like completely oblivious to it.
which is
from a
absolutely-
heterosexual
which is
community.
absolutely insane.
Right.
You know,
Especially in Florida, in South Florida.
exactly. You know, I'm disheartened to see that there's been such a stark rise among you know, in STI rates, specifically among baby boomers. But I was excited to see on the same report that there's actually been a decrease in Gen Z. I think it was about 6.6% in 15 to 24, and like 3.8 in the group just above that. And that's still bearing in mind though that young people, Gen Z, still make up about 49% of all new STI diagnoses. It's actually 150 times the rate of baby boomers. So while we're talking about these stark increases, these decreases, still recognizing that the folks who are most disproportionately impacted in this moment continue to be BIPOC, LGBTQ, and young people. It is why it's so important that we're educating young people about how to protect themselves, about testing, right? About you know, destigmatizing STIs in particular, using condoms, right? Contact tracing, all of these various things that they can do to protect themselves, to maintain their sexual health, and it's also important for us to advocate for LGBT inclusive, comprehensive, medically accurate sexual health education, which here in Florida can be increasingly hard to come by, but there are folks that are doing that work to make sure that young people are.
Right, know your status, knowledge is power. It's simple.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, you know, dive in because I'm, you know, turning 40, you know, in October. But my parents were like the baby boomers, and they didn't really talk much about like the birds and the bees, the bees and the bees, you know, and that type of thing. And you kind of just discovered it on your own. And I remember growing up in high school, we learned about sexual health. Now my students, they take that out of the schools. So the kids are just doing free for all, just not knowing anything about this. And I definitely think, you know, it needs to be taught in the school. Yeah.
The decline of sexual education is a real hazard. I mean, when public schools stop actually, all levels of the education hierarchy, they start to ignore personal issues like sexual health. It's the young people who suffer. You know, they see, no, you don't actually get very accurate portrayal of healthy sexual behavior via either mainstream media or even pornography.
Right, the internet. I mean, the internet can be both good and bad in that term.
I mean, I was privileged to have actually really, really solid sexual health education. I hail from Palm Beach County, where they historically had super comprehensive and LGBT inclusive sex ed. I mean, they talked about trans issues in a positive light. They talked about queer relationships, relationship abuse, STIs, HIV, all of that, condoms, all that good stuff. And so I did still wind up getting STI, I had chlamydia, and I got gonorrhea right after becoming an adult. But because I had that education, I knew what to do about it, right? Chlamydia is so easy to get rid of, right? You take a pill and you don't have sex for 7 days, right? And when you know when you have that knowledge and you have that information about sexual health, how to protect yourself, it can make those experiences so much less scary and sometimes prevent them from happening.
There's so many programs out there, whether you have insurance or not, that provide you with PrEP, Oxypep, and other life-saving medication that prevents. I mean, even if you caught it, it won't impact you as badly.
Right.
Well, all right. Next, let's queer up politics. Trump picked Vance as running mate, sparks LGBTQ plus advocates and Biden-Harris backlash. Former President Donald Trump's selection of Republican Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio as his 2024 running mate has ignited a firestorm of criticism and concern among LGBTQ advocates and the Biden-Harris campaign. Jen O'Malley Dillon, chair of the Biden-Harris campaign 2024, condemned Vance for his alignment with Trump's divisive agenda, accusing him of enabling extremism and endangering American democracy. She said, and I quote, "Vance will do what Mike Pence wouldn't on January 6th, bend over backwards to enable Trump and his extreme MAGA agenda, even if it means breaking the law and no matter the harm to the American people," end quote. Human Rights Campaign President Kelly Robinson echoes these sentiments, labeling Vance as a MAGA clone. Robinson said, and I quote, "Donald Trump has been a bully for years, and his pick of MAGA clone J.D. Vance is a reminder that nothing has changed. This is anything but a unity ticket," end quote. Vance's legislative record reflects his staunch opposition to LGBTQ rights and reproductive freedoms. His, quote, "Protect Children's Innocence Act," end quote, aims to criminalize gender-affirming care for minors. He has opposed marriage equality and advocated for censoring LGBTQ plus discussion in classrooms under the guise of parents' rights. In contrast, the Biden-Harris administration has been praised for advancing LGBTQ equality, including federal protections for same-sex marriages and healthcare rights. Well, first of all, I think O'Malley said, I think Dylan said perfectly. Mike Pence, well, when it comes down to it, the man has a spine. As weak as were.
Right.
The spine existed.
Right.
Meanwhile, I bet that if January 6th happened with J.D. Vance in the vice president's chair, he would have changed all the votes to Trump. He would declare Trump, re-elected, and all norms of democracy will go out the window. This is unprecedented times. Yeah. We have a wannabe dictator who is trying to use the democratic process to get back into office just so that he can destroy democracy.
Right.
This is, and I do not want to make this too much of a hyperbole, this is Hitler. Yeah. Hitler used it, everyone, you have to remember that Hitler was elected and then appointed by the president of Germany to head up Germany. And then he claimed the supreme, it was a coup that developed from the inside. It wasn't something that you stormed the parliaments and then, held everyone hostage and declare yourself emperor. No, this is not that. This is just erosion of democratic norms a little by little until people forgot what those norms look like.
But imagine if Trump passed away, if he was reelected, he passed away in office, and then Vance becomes so there's no two ways about it. Vance is far more dangerous than Mary Pence could ever be. And the reason I'm pronouncing it Vance is because Vance is Yiddish for bedbug. 2 years ago, the brilliant queer Southern writer Silas House wrote about Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, and had this to say, quote, "It's a dangerous book because it's a treatise in disguise," end quote. House went on to say that while he doesn't negate this family story in the book, he thinks, quote, "If it had just been a memoir, it would be a powerful piece of writing and it would be his own proof. But the problem is it is woven throughout with dog whistles about class and race and gender. And if your ears ever tune to those dog whistles, you know exactly what he's saying. If you're not, then they can read like a heartwarming rags to riches story, and everything that we've learned since the book came out sort of proves that it was just laying the groundwork for his political career."
Exactly. Yeah. And I just want to add that, J.D. Vance is not a unity ticket. Unity ticket would be taking someone with a moderate position and pair it with his extremist radicalism. No, this is more of the unity tickets that Trump was thinking of. It's just to unite the far right with the further right. This is nothing to do with any other person or any other party or any other faction, even inside the Republican Party. He's not inviting Liz Cheney.
It's a Heritage Foundation wet dream, is what it is.
Yeah, no, it is. It is Project 2025 Manifest. And we're going to talk about the RNC later, and I'll bring that up in the platform section when we go up.
All right. Next, let's queer up politics. Republican National Convention launches with unified support for Trump. The Republican National Convention officially kicked off Monday in Milwaukee, gathering delegates from across the nation. The convention, hosted at the Fiserv Forum, runs until Thursday. This year's convention shows unified support for Trump amid ongoing debates within the Democratic Party about President Joe Biden's re-election bid. Delegates will engage in key convention activities, including formally nominating Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance. The convention will also feature speeches from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Few of the important matters to be considered during the convention include immigration, the economy, and social policies. Throughout the four-day event, state delegations will gather for breakfast meetings and participate in a range of programs and seminars, including voting on the Republican Party platform. Influential conservative groups, such as the Heritage Foundation, will discuss Project 2025, a plan for significant governmental reforms. Moms for Liberty will host a panel discussion, while GLAAD notes that LGBTQ plus issues are likely to be addressed from a far-right perspective, including potential bans on transgender military service and restrictions on transgender participation in sports. Policies allowing businesses to refuse service based on religious beliefs and efforts to defund schools supporting transgender students are also expected to be highlighted. One of the most important moments of the convention was when Trump announced his vice presidential running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Trump announced that his convention speech acceptance was largely rewritten from a rip-roaring attack of Biden to a larger "we need to unite" theme. Each convention night will feature themed sessions with the vice presidential candidate traditionally speaking on Wednesday, and Trump slated to formally accept the nomination on Thursday evening. What's nice that all the psycho sycophants, including Haley and DeSantis, are lining up to suck at the teat of Trump. They're so desperate to be in his gross graces, they don't realize the milk is tainted.
And let's not talk. And I just saw a summary of the new RNC platform that they actually passed. Trump is trying to obfuscate the radical elements of Project 2025 by removing certain things. For example, they now, on the platform now, abortion is considered a state matter, when we all know that that's not going to be true, because, now he has a 6-3 Supreme Court with radical Christian nationalists Alito and Clarence Thomas on the docket. We already know that he's planning to deport 12 million immigrants, no matter whether they're legal or not. If your name is Rodriguez, if your name is Lopez, if your skin is brown, you better start packing now. And that's a warning to all the Cubans in the South Florida community who so eagerly embrace Trump.
I mean, I won't comment on the GOP itself. I legally can't because of the logo next to my name. But what I will comment on is just the absolutely ridiculous group of people that are in this space. I mean, Moms for Liberty. Come on. The Bridget Ziegler and Christian Ziegler of all folks that's
hypocrites
into your space is absolutely ridiculous. And then also the Heritage Foundation. I mean, I'm sure, folks have heard at length about Project 2025. If you have not read that, I know it's a long document, but if you want to get the Spark Notes, I suggest reading up on it, because it is absolutely terrifying. Not just on their stance on policy issues, from abortion to LGBT rights to other social justice issues, but just in terms of the foundations of our democracy, right? Just the very structure of our democratic principles and our democratic systems that we hold so dearly.
I mean, civil service is going to be completely transformed under this Project 2025 to be basically a single party dictatorial state. Anyone who is considered disloyal or otherwise known as not Republican will be replaced by sycophants who will slavishly take on the Project 2025 agenda. And I want to loop back to LGBTQ plus rights. Can you imagine if, let's say that they still all consider the state rights. In red states, that means that now state governments can force LGBTQ children into conversion therapy. They can forcibly detransition transgender people. They can forcibly, essentially torture LGBTQ people for their own personal entertainment.
Yeah. It's like a twisted time machine. They want to just take us back.
It's torture.
Yeah.
We said it earlier, too. We were talking about this earlier, and it was people that have not seen or read the 2025. I mean, it's all over the internet. You can't miss it, right? It's being posted everywhere. Take the opportunity to read it. If you've not heard it, not read the 900. I mean, if you want to, go ahead. But at least get educated before you go cast a vote.
I mean, I actually am very thankful for a group of gay furry hackers who actually hacked the Heritage Foundation and leaked the documents and communication, and which was absolutely hilarious as a bit of political theater. But yeah,
and I just want to dive in. It's just like, it's sad that Trump is like sucking up all this publicity, for himself, and especially I just feel bad for like the LGBTQ youth, especially, Max, like, you know, and especially in New Jersey, you know, where I currently live. But just, you know, it's like going to be a huge pushback of all the stuff that we push forward for teachers to now putting in the classroom for LGBTQ curriculum and like the Black History curriculum. It's disheartening. So I just, you know.
Speaking of New Jersey, breaking news: Bob Menendez has been convicted today. So, but you guys, but we already have a new candidate in place. So it's not. It's hopefully it will be a safe seat for us because we do need to claw back the Senate.
Yeah.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finish tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. PrideFe 2024 celebrates Caribbean culture in Wilton Manors. Join the vibrant celebration of Caribbean culture at PrideFe 2024, held at Richardson Historic Park and Nature Preserve in Wilton Manors on Saturday, August 10th. Enjoy music, food, and a lively atmosphere honoring LGBTQ plus diversity. Pre-sale tickets are available until August 9th. Don't miss the chance. General admission is $7 online, and VIP is $85, which includes hors d'oeuvres, indoor access, and 5 drink tickets. For further details, visit pridefet.lgbt. Well, I know I'm going to PrideFe. It'll actually be my first year going. I'm so excited too. Prism will be there and showing up and showing out, and I'm just so ecstatic for this event.
If there any reason for me to get the VIP ticket, it will be the indoor access part. Oh my God. It's going to be like 100 degrees even at night.
August.
And I know they're still looking for vendors, so anybody who wants the vendor, it's an opportunity.
That's a reminder. If anyone wants to become a vendor for PrideFe, please contact them immediately.
I'm in order to get my families from like the West Indies and everything. So, you know, this is like.
And you'll still be in town at that time?
Yeah, I'll definitely here. So I'm like, I'll definitely check it out. Yeah.
It's a really fun event. It really is. LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up trans rights. Florida denies gender marker changes on birth certificates for trans residents. In the past year, Florida's health department has denied requests to amend gender markers on birth certificates for transgender adults and minors, citing pre-existing statutes. Despite providing documentation of clinical treatment and legal name changes, applicants were rejected. This shift contradicts the department's decade-long practice of updating such records. Transgender Floridians, even with other government IDs reflecting their current gender identity, face a process seemingly designed to reject all applicants, with the Bureau of General Statistics issuing denial letters throughout 2023 and 2024. This is so typical of the kind of thing that continues to occur during the DeSantis administration. I am counting the days until the end of his deplorable reign.
Look, I have seen that it's a bit of a mixed bag. I've heard from so many trans people in our state that have been denied that birth certificate change. But I was also so happy just a couple days ago when Prism's policy director Stephen Rocha sent me a text saying that he had gotten his birth certificate updated. So not all hope is lost, right? There are still Floridians that are getting that application accepted, but it is far and few between. And of course, we still have some very, very serious restrictions on changing gender markers on driver's licenses. So much work to be done.
All right. Let's queer up. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up health. Another massive Florida health data breach under DeSantis administration. Floridian sensitive health records, including HIV test results, doctor's notes, and immunization records, were seized by hackers and released on the dark web. Over 20,000 files contain lab results, signed medical release forms, and social security numbers. The cyber attack carried out by Ransom Hub targeted the state's Bureau of Public Health Laboratories. DeSantis administration seems to be facing difficulties in tackling cyber attacks. Over the past 3 years, data of more than 10 million Floridians has been exposed in breaches. Ransom Hub has demanded an undisclosed sum from the state to prevent the release of the records. Okay, it was very interesting. I was actually on a call last week with the state, on a call that I was on, and the question was posed to them as saying, did they get the HIV records? And they said, absolutely not. HIV records are kept in a different system and was not hacked. And then 2 days later, this news came out. So some of the issues is our health departments are not prepared for this, clearly. They're not transparent when it comes to issues with either the local health departments or a state health department. There is a sense of, because of who our governor is, they don't say anything. So it leaves everybody in the dark. And at some point, we've got to start standing up and demanding answers. Because one thing that's happened is, obviously, if their records have been released, it is their due diligence to contact those people. And I don't believe they made any attempts to do that yet, nor has the public health officer made any statements in regards to this.
The incompetence is staggering.
Well, LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up politics. Tucker Carlson claims Pete Buttigieg isn't really gay. In the recent episode of Twitter-hosted Carlson's show, former Fox News host Tucker Carlson claims Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg isn't really gay, call him, quote, supposedly gay, end quote. Carlson stated a gay producer told him Buttigieg is not gay and added, quote, gays all keep close track of that stuff, end quote. Carlson, who is set to speak at the Republican National Convention, has also made derogatory comments about Buttigieg in the past. Queer News Tonight is pretty sure Pete Buttigieg is gay. Personally, I don't really care if Pete Buttigieg identifies as a furry. But the thing is, this is essentially the gay equivalent of that conversation when you have a white bigot meeting a Jewish neighbor, and it's like, oh, I know, and then he says, oh, I know the Rothsteins on the other side of the country. Have you guys met?
Right.
Like as if we all go to a bloody convention together and
compare notes.
No, we all have committees, and Elton John is our godfather, and there's a whole gay mafia, and everyone knows each other's business. We don't do that, Tucker. We have better things to do. And it's like going to musicals and hooking up and getting a drink and protest your bigotry.
Well, and it's so funny because Tucker Carlson isn't really straight.
We don't want him.
No, he can stay on the side.
No.
All right, LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up drag culture. RuPaul's Drag Race Global All-Stars premieres August 16th. The highly anticipated RuPaul's Drag Race Global All-Stars is finally here. Hosted by RuPaul with Michelle Visage and Jamal Sims as judges, this season features 12 queens: Alyssa Edwards, Athena Likis, Eva LaQueen, Galavero, Kitty Scott Claus, Queen Kong, Miranda Lebrau, Nehelenia, Pythia, Soa de Muse, Tessa Testicle, and Vanity Vane. Premiering on August 16th on Paramount Plus, the winner will win $200,000 and be crowned Queen of the Mother-Tucking World. Oh, I don't watch Drag Race, much to Al's chagrin, I'm sure, but maybe I'll get started. Maybe this is the season where I start.
This is very international. Apparently, I just saw the sign. Tessa Testicle is from Germany. That's a fun name for
Absolutely. I think you should read all the names again.
I highly disagree. Let's not. I'd rather be waterboarded.
And that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, happening on television network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Maxx Fenning, and on behalf of these fabulous LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Dr. Barbie Huen, Dr. Bobby Huen, Barbie, yeah, sure, Von Biggs, Danielle Earle, Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you
Good night.
Good night.